Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. B. Surika Reddy from Department of ECE, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So, in the course which I'm discussing, that is about electronic measurement and instrumentation. In previous topic, we have introduced the measurements and instrumentation. Why do we measure usually? And why instrumentation is important, and why instrumentation and measurement we have to emphasize, and we have to know like what is happening inside every instrument, and what are the different flaws which will be there in the measurement process. All these things we have to know. That is like in testing process or in any other controlling process. All these things we need measurement process. So we have discussed about why do we measure, and what is the use of an instrument, and what are the different things, what are the different places in which the particular measurement process is in. So in today's topic, let us start discussing the block schematic of a typical electronic instrument and the performance characteristics of an instrument. So this transducer we have discussed in the previous one. So let us once again remains this thing. So transducer is one of the major block which converts one form of the signal to the other form. That is like whenever we see in any real environment, so at that time the particular instrument whichever we are taking into consideration, it might be taking the input only as a voltage or current or any other known form, like it will be taking as an input, and then the processing can take place. But here directly I may not be getting that type of input. So that's why in that type of situations, what we can do is we can use a instrument that is a transducer, which takes the input as a physical quantity, and it converts into some analogical normalized signal, which can be processed further over there. So we have different type of different types of transducers. That is, it can be either in the form of a sensor or actuator. Sensor, what it does is it receives and responds to a signal or stimulus from a particular physical system, whereas actuator, it moves or controls a mechanism based on the input from a control system or a similar system. So this thing we have discussed. So now let us move on to the basic elements of an electronic instrument. So when we look at particular electronic instrument, that is any blocks of the particular instrument, what it basically has is a transducer followed by a signal modifier, and finally there is an indicating device. So when we say that there is a transducer, what the transducer does is it converts one form of the signal to the other form, or one form of the energy into the other form, we can say. So if, for example, if the input is a pressure, for example, then it can be converted into some known format that we can take it as a voltage, or any other thermocouple or thermal coil is over here. So that that particular energy can be converted into current or any other voltage form. So that thing will be taken care by the particular transducer. Then it is followed by that is transducer convert a signal from one form to the another form. Now next one is the signal modifier. Signal modifier convert input signal into a suitable signal for the indicating device. Now in our measurement, like in the process of this particular instrument, where we measure a particular value. So basically when we have a measuring instrument over here, this is an instrument actually. So when we look at this particular instrument, in this instrument, we'll be measuring some values, or we'll be looking at the graphical representation on this particular instrument. So now this instrument will be taking only certain types of inputs. It might not be capable enough of taking all type of any type of input and processing it. So that's why that is showing the particular output in the particular instrument. It might not be capable of that. That's why what we have to do is that, like, whatever the physical quantity which is coming to the transducer, it is converted into one form. This has to be directly displayed on the particular indicating device over here. So indicating device, what it does is indicates the value of quantity being measured. For example, we can take an ammeter. On ammeter, what we'll be looking majorly is the reading over there. Either it is in milliamperes or microamperes or DC amperes, DC ammeters or AC ammeters. We have different type of ammeters like that. So we'll be looking at the reading on the particular meter. Now this reading directly, whatever the output is coming from the transducer, that might not be able to be displayed on the particular meter on this one. So that's why what we have to do is we have to convert the particular signal in such a way that can be indicated on the particular indicating device. So basically when we look at the basic elements of electronic, so initially transducer will be there. So the transducer output has to be seen on a particular indicating device, whether it is a visually like a graphical representation or any reading, just like this particular digital meter over there. So here we have to make the particular output of this particular transducer in such a way that it can be capable enough to be indicated on the indicating device. And other things can also be done in the process. So, and also this signal modifier, what it can also be is, now I'm taking this transducer in a particular circuit. I can take one input to the circuit. That is, whatever the output we are getting from the transducer, we can give it as an input to a particular circuit. There some signal modifications can be done, such as an amplifier where it increases the strength of the signal. So those things can also be happening in the particular signal modifier. And once the signal is converted, like that is amplified, the output of the signal can be shown on a indicating device. So this indicating device, as I said, it can be any digital meter or any displaying meter over there. Displaying units such as an oscilloscope or any spectrum analyzer, anything can be there. So we can view the particular output on the indicating device. So basically this signal modifier we are using so that the suitable signal is converted into another form such that it can be displayed on the particular indicating device. Now, if you look at any process in electronic instrument, like what is happening basically is here, initially the physical variable that is to be measured is given to the detector transducer stage. So, initially the physical variable which is to be measured means some quantities, some sensors. Now, for example, I am measuring any pulse meter is there, and I can place any sensor on our wrist, and on wrist what will be happening, that particular signal will be converted into another form that can be captured by any calibration signal source representing a known value of a physical variable. So now this physical variable that is to be measured is converted with the help of a transducer, and it is further given to the calibration signal. Okay. It is further given to the intermediate stage. So now here the calibration signal stores representing known value of physical variable. That is to say here, now for example, we are taking pressure or any pulse as an input to the transducer. Now this pressure or pulse, it is converted to another form. And for example, I am converting into voltage. Now this voltage will be having certain measurements, right? Some certain volts, like it is measured basically in volts. So like now if it is being converted into current, then it will be amperes over there. So based upon the calibration signal source representing known value of physical variable, that particular calibration signal will be given to the transducer stage. So this transducer, it will be taking the input from the physical variable that is to be measured, and the calibration signal is given to the transducer, and now here the transducer signal will be generated with respect to the particular these two inputs which the particular transducer is taking. Now in the intermediate stage, what is happening in the intermediate stage is again the same thing. Here the signal modification is being done in the intermediate stage. So in the signal modification, again the same thing happens. So here in the output stage, I can take any of the process. That is, it can be any controller, indicator, or any recorder. In any of these elements can be taken as a the visualization, the output visualization block, we can say over there. So here that particular, see for example, it is an indicator. Indicator means majorly what we'll use is a PMMC meter. So this PMMC meter, it can take DC values as an input only. So now whatever the signal is coming from the transducer, that is the transducer signal, this signal has to be converted into some modified signal. That modified signal, it has to be in DC value if we are considering the particular PMMC meter. So what we'll do in the intermediate stage is that we will convert the particular transducer signal in such a way that it is converted into some DC format where the average value or DC value is measured by using a PMMC meter, which we'll be discussing in the later stages of this course. Now here this modified signal can be given to the indicator in such a way. And now if there is a recorder over there which is recording the particular signal, how the signal is being modified from one time to the other or with different type of inputs. Now see this particular physical variable which we are saying here, it might be taking the inputs at different stages. From time to time it might be varying. My pulse, it won't be same throughout the some period. Anyhow, like from one period to the other period, the average value or any other value, like average value or mean value, it can be some value, some known value, it will be there. Some constant value, it might be there. But if you take a range of values, it will be differing from one time to the other. From 1 second to the other second also, it might be vary. So all these variations, it can be given to the continuously to the particular intermediate stage over there. So now once we get the modified signal, it can also be recorded in different stages. That is, for first second, it is in this one. For next, it's next after 2 seconds, it is like this. After 3 seconds, the reading is like all these things can also be recorded. And also when there is a control system where there is a need to give change the particular physical variable. Like see here. This particular physical variable, it will be coming from one source, one particular source only will be getting this particular physical variable. So here this physical variable, suppose the particular tuning has to be done in the particular physical variable, like from where we are getting the particular values of this physical variable, some tuning has to be done. At that time, what we can do is whatever the modified signal is there, I have to give, we can give it to the controller. And this controller, what it does is, it gives a feedback signal of control. And with respect to the feedback signal of the control, the physical variable to be measured can be tuned in such a way that it gives a proper signal, proper modified signal. Whatever the modified signal, again, we can view it, or we can also give the particular modified signal to other circuits also. So in this way, the particular any electronic system instrument it works. So basically, it consists of a transducer stage, where it takes the physical quantity from any of other type of instruments. From there, the particular physical quantity is converted into some known format or some which makes some sense. It to a particular modified signal which have some sense, that is which can be on which we can do some mathematical operations or any other algorithm operations we can do on that one. We can use the particular modified signal in any particular circuit or in any particular operation we can say. Okay. Now, once the modified signal we got it, we can see it on the indicating device, or we can record it, or we can also control it. Okay. So this is the basic electronic instrument, and these are the basic blocks in that. So now, coming to the functions of instrumentation, that is, it has three basic functions, that is indicating, recording and controlling. As we have seen in the previous block diagram, there in the final stage, the modified signal, it can either be indicated or recorded or controlled. That is indicating to visualize the process or operation. So how the values are changing and everything, you can only visualize that particular process on a meter. Or if we are considering any other graphical user interface, then CRO you can use in order to see how the signal variation is being done over there with respect to time or with respect to the frequency. Next one is recording, that is observe and save the measurement reading. So as I said that from time to time the readings might be changed, or with respect to the input given to the, so here once before going to the transducer, here we get the transducer gets a physical quantity. Right. So this physical quantity, it will be coming from again an instrument, any instrument or any device, I can say, or any device. From this device, will be getting the physical quantity continuously, which is given to the further given to the transducer. So now in this particular device, whenever it is giving some outputs, from time to time it might be varying, or here the input to the device also can vary. With respect to that particular input to the device, the output also will vary. So like that, the physical quantities can be varying. So such type of variations can be like if we are able to record such type of variations, then the particular data will be useful in order to do further processing in the particular measurement process over there. Okay, so here recording, basically we are using this particular function which is there in the instrumentation, that is observe and save the measurement reading. Next one is controlling, that is to control measurement and process. So here by giving a feedback, we can tune the particular measurement, like in the particular instrument, we can tune the particular quantity, the particular changes in the physical quantity, such that we acquire a reading or any signal which we intend to. So that is nothing but the controlling process. So some of the desirable characteristics of any electronic instrument is, that is, we want a low cost electronic instrument, and it has to be it should be easy to use. And next one is the capable of surviving in harsh environment. Next one is high accuracy, minimal distortion to the measurement, and finally wide range of operation. Now look at like any instrument or any device which we want, definitely we want it in a low cost. So here the particular first category, like whenever we look at any desirable characteristics of any instrument or any device, we will be looking for low cost first. Then after that, easy to use. So here we should, like, see, no one will be preferring to undergo very big training process in order to use any particular instrument. That is why it should be easy to use, such that like by looking at the manual of that one, we should be able to use a particular instrument. It should not be complex basically. So now next one is the capable of surviving in harsh environment. Now whatever the instrument we are speaking about, it can be used in many places. That is in extreme heat conditions or extreme cold conditions, we can use the particular instrument. And whenever like we want to see the water level, how the water level is being changed in a dam, at that time we have to place a particular instrument in the like at that particular dam, wherever the water level is being measured, at that particular place we have to place a particular instrument in order to check the readings, how the water level is increasing at that particular place. So in many situations, we should be able to use a particular instrument. And also, even if we handle it a bit aggressive way, that is, even if the instrument fall down, still it has to work. So here, I'm not saying like it has to if we throw it with a very huge force, still it has to. But what I mean to say, like, it at least should be capable enough to be used in harsher environments where the use of the instrument will be very huge, and also it can be rash sometimes. So we want such type of instrument every time. Devices also, if just by falling once, like from a very big huge place, if it stops working, then there's no need of using such type of instrument, because it is very delicate. So we don't prefer such type of instruments. So other desirable characteristics is it is capable of surviving in harsh environments. Next one is high accuracy. So now whenever we look for any instrument, now this is an instrument, for example. This instrument, what the instrument is being used for specifically is only for measurement process. Now whatever the output I'm giving from any circuit or any process so here that output should not vary when it comes to the, like, while we are visualizing on the particular instrument. So now this characteristic is very important. That is, from this part to this part, the value or the output should not be changed. That is, it has to be very high, like it should have very high accuracy, such that whatever the value is being given by the, like, whatever the output of the circuit is, that has to be shown, that has to be seen on the particular instrument very accurately. That is one of the desirable characteristics of any instrument. Next one is minimal distortion to the measurement. So now with respect to the measurement, that is, like, see here, now from this one I'm going to measure some quantity. Now for example, voltage I'm going to measure by using this particular instrument. Now with respect to this particular instrument, this is a measurement. Now if the instrument is going to vary, or instrument characteristics are going to vary with respect to this particular voltage voltage signal which is coming to this particular instrument, then that is not desirable for us. So here there has to be minimal distortion to measure. And here the circuits, if it is giving an output as a sine wave in this way. Now here this sine wave, once I look in the particular instrument, it should not have any distortions. The distortions can be noises like this. So desirable signal, it doesn't have any distortions like this. Rather than it is a need signal over there. But still, because of some problem, some distortions with respect to the measure, and this instrument is giving some undesirable qualities. This is not our desirable characteristics. So here, what it has to have is a minimal distortion that is to be like to the measurement. Next one is a wide range of operation. Now here, this signal which is being produced by the particular circuit, it is having a range in megahertz, a frequency range in megahertz, or the voltage value, it is from 20 volts peak to peak, for example. Now this instrument, if it is not capable enough to capture this particular signal, that is, now this instrument can only show the outputs in the range of kilohertz only, and it can show the output in the like a peak to peak amplitude range of only 10 volts. Then definitely the part of the signal can be missed. It can be clipped like this, right? So that's why this is not our intention. And also it should have a wide range of operation, means in some case, like it should be capable enough to measure many quantities which can, by just modifying some certain criteria. That is, if you take a multimeter, for example, inside the digital multimeter, what is happening is here, what is being used as a simple voltmeter design or a digital voltmeter design is being used, and by using the particular digital voltmeter, we can consider construct or convert from one form to the other. We can do some characteristics, like some operations, and we can see the output over there. And for example, look at the PMMC, or this is nothing but permanent magnetic moving coil type instrument. It is also called as a d'Arsonval movement, which is basically a galvanometer. This is nothing but a basic meter. By using this basic meter, we are using it for many other purposes. That is to measure the current, the voltage, whether it is in AC form or DC form. And it can also be used in the construction of the ohm meter, which is used to measure the resistance value. And also in digital voltmeter conditions also, here this particular meter is being used. Now, I can say that this particular meter instrument, that is PMMC instrument, it has a wide range of operation. So these are the desirable characteristics. That is, the instrument which we are going to measure it in should have a low cost. It has to be easier to use, and next one is capable of surviving in harsh environments. Next, it should have higher accuracy, minimal distortion to the measurer, and finally wide range of operation should be there for the particular instrument. Now here every time whenever we do some measurement process, we have to look at the performance characteristics or the measuring characteristics of the particular instrument. So what is the need of the instrument, need for this performance, measuring the particular performance characteristics is to know the quality of the instrument and to check whether the instrument is suitable for its operation, to compare the instrument with its alternatives. Now looking at the first one, that is to know the quality of the instrument. Now here, after manufacturing this particular instrument, this is an instrument, we have manufactured it, and according to our theoretical analysis and different parameters, we have already tested this instrument, and we have concluded, okay, this is working properly. But still, we have to look at some of the performance characteristics of the particular instrument, how it is being changed, whether it is getting affected with the other values or not. So actually, whenever we look at any particular instrument, it will be having a true value and a measured value. So when we say there is a true value over there, so true value means it is nothing but the theoretical value. Theoretical value means by doing some, see, this true value means like it is the output of some circuit or some theoretical analysis, we can say. Now, what will be the measured value is the value which we can see on the particular instrument, that is an indicating device over there. So now here, when we say that this particular measured value and true value are same, then I can say that instrument is very accurate over there. So that's why we have to see whether there is any deviation from the measure value or not, so from the true value or not. So here, the first need of like why we have to look at the performance characteristics is to know the quality of the instrument, whether it is working properly. Next, to check whether the instrument is suitable for its operation. Now here, we have measured something, and we have to look at its particular output. Now I want to see the frequency variation of a particular signal. At the time, I can use the CRO. Now, by using the CRO, what type of output I'll be able to visualize? I'll be able to visualize the signal where the amplitude will be varied with respect to time. That is, time versus amplitude graph I can see on this one. But here, what I intend to measure is the frequency variation from time to time. From time to time, I want to see how the particular frequency is varying with respect to the time, for example. Then this particular CRO might not be useful at that time. That's why to check whether the particular instrument is suitable for its operation or not, we have to look at the different performance characteristics of the instrument. Next one, to compare the instrument with its alternatives. Then here, whenever there is an instrument which we got, only this instrument, it doesn't serve the purpose. We have many other type of instruments. Now here, if we speak when we are measuring the current or voltage value, specific device which is there for DC voltage measurement, we have a specific voltmeter is a DC voltmeter we have as an instrument. And again, we have a multimeter is also there for measuring this particular DC voltage values. So now we have different alternatives are there for one specific instrument. At that time, we should be able to choose a particular instrument which has very, very high accuracy. That is where there is a minimum deviation from the true value. So in order to compare with its alternatives also, we need to perform the performance characteristic measurement. Like we have to look at the performance characteristics. Then we can choose a particular alternative instrument, whether to use this instrument or that another instrument. It is based upon whether how accurate or how much error or how much resolution or how much precision, how are the static and how are the dynamic characteristics of the particular instrument. Next one is the types of performance characteristics. Now, if you look at the performance characteristics, there are two types of performance characteristics, that are static characteristics and the other one is the dynamic characteristics. So now here, the static characteristics and dynamic characteristics are basically divided based upon the classification of the input signals. So now if you look at the classification of input signals, these are based on the time relationship and based on the assumed values. These are the classification of how the input signals can be classified. So now, based on time relationship, the classification of input signals is divided as, like, it is being classified as either it is a static signal or a dynamic signal. Now, if you take based on the assumed values, then it is basically analog signal or a digital signal. Whereas in analog signal, there is a tracing back will be easier in the analog signal. Now here, in the static signal, if you see there is a static signal, then its variation will not be, let's see, even with the variation of time, there won't be any variation in the particular output of the signal. So here the characteristic which is there with respect to the static signal, that is, it is static in nature with respect to the time. Whereas in the dynamic nature of the particular signal, then it can be steady state periodic that are non-repetitive transients. So now if you look at the steady state periodic, then the repetition over a period of time can be there. And in the non-repetitive transition, then you can think it of a atmospheric temperature from time to time. Like if you take a complete day into consideration, at that time, from time to time, definitely the temperature variation will be there. So there won't be any repetitive transients. That is, the temperature which is there in the morning, it won't be repeated in the afternoon or in any other period of time over there. So then we can say it is a non-repetitive transients. But when we look at the steady state periodic nature, then there can be some repetitions after certain process is completed. Again, the particular things can be repeated. The outputs whichever we are seeing, those can be repeated. So when we speak about the static characteristics, they do not vary with respect to time. Even if the variation is there, then there will be only slight variation in the output. And when we look at the dynamic, then the variation is there with respect to the time. From time to time, there will be the variation. Now, how the variation is with either it is a steady state periodic or non-repetitive transients. Steady state periodic means it can be repetitive over time, and non-repetitive transient means there won't be any repetition when you look at the particular outputs with which you're where you're measuring with respect to your instrument. And next one is based on assumed values. The classification of input signals can also be done based on assumed values. So now if I say that there is a particular analog signal, then it will be continuous in time and continuous in amplitude. Now here and the other type is the digital signals. Digital signals, what is there is here? They will be discrete in time, discrete in amplitude signals. So here the advantage of the analog signal is here we can trace back the signal even after doing some signal modification also in the process. Still we can trace back the signal by doing the reverse of the particular operation. Whereas tracing back is difficult in the digital signals. But still, when we look at different factors like of analog and digital signals, then major factors will be advantageous for the digital signals only. Now, for example, we are considering any waves where we are measuring something, then waves, then basically it is denoted by sine waves, and here in digital basically it is denoted by square waves, because in digital mostly we'll be dealing with 0 or 1. So now in square wave either it will be 0 or 1, either 0 or 1 like this. Whereas in sine waves, there will be a continuation like this. The particular amplitude will be changed with respect to time or with respect to frequency, we can say. Now here, the signal, here in analog, the continuous signal representing physical measurements, whereas in digital, the digital signal that is discrete signal representing discrete time signals generated by digital modulation over there. That is here, this is in discrete in time, discrete in amplitude, whereas it is in continuous nature basically. Then when we consider the data transmission in an analog signal, there it can be subjected to deterioration by noise. So here the noise effect is very, very high in the analog signal, and it can be deteriorated with respect to any noise which are there. Definitely during the data transmission process, many type of noises can be used into the particular signal. So when we look at the particular scenario of noise, then at that time this analog signal can be deteriorated with respect to the noise. Whereas in the digital signal, it is noise immune without any deterioration. So now when we use any particular digital signal in order to transmit particular data in the form of a digital signal, then it is immune to noise compared to the analog signals. Next one is the bandwidth. Analog signals consumes lesser bandwidth, whereas digital signals consumes more bandwidth. And here, when we look at the memory, analog signals stored in the form of wave signal, whereas the digital signals are stored in the binary bit. And here, analog signal draws larger power, whereas digital signals draws negligible power over there. And next one, analog signals will be working with low impedance. Here, the digital signals will be having a high order of 100 mega ohms. Then finally, when we look at the errors in any particular analog instrument or a digital instrument, analog instruments have considerable observational errors. See here, considerable observational errors are there in a particular analog instrument. Whereas when we look at the digital instrument, it is free from observational errors. From these aspects, what we can say is analog signal, basically the signals what we are using for is data transmission or to record anything or to store some data. All these things we are using in a particular day-to-day life. So now here, if the particular signal is deteriorated or its characteristics or its data is lost because of any noise, that is not desirable for us. But once we look at the digital signal, then the noise impact is very, very less. That is, it is immune to noise. And also here, the power consumption in the particular digital signal is less. And also when we look at the particular output using a digital instrument, these are free from the observational errors, which is a very, very important aspect while we are measuring any particular quantity. We want the particular output to be error free. That is, we want the measured value to be equal to the true value. We don't want any changes from as it is moving from one part to the other. We don't want any changes in the particular values. Now here, if there is any transmitter is there, there is any transmitter over here, then it can be sent through a channel. Now, at this particular place, we have a receiver. So now in this receiver, whatever the transmitted signal is there, it has to be captured by the particular, it has to be seen at the particular receiver. We have to be able to get the actual signal at the particular receiver. And in the process of this data transmission through the channel, if many noises are induced into the particular signal, then that is not desirable for us. That's why it's better to use digital signals while we are going for the data transmission. And as well as here, when we look at particular output using any digital instrument, as it is error free, then the particular value won't be changed in the data transmission process from this to any instrument. So this is the advantage of using digital signals compared to the analog signal. Now coming back to the static and dynamic nature of the signals here. And there what we have to consider, another aspect is the calibration. How the calibration will be done. Now here, if there is any instrument or any measurement system, both are same, right? Instrument or measuring system, measurement instrument. Then we give an input of a known magnitude and we get a system response with respect to that. So here the calibration is of two types, that is static calibration as well as the dynamic calibration. In static calibration, both the input and output are time invariant. Whereas in the dynamic calibration, input and output varies with time. So these are the major aspects in a particular static calibration as well as and dynamic calibration. So with respect to that, where there is a static calibration, then there will be static characteristics in the particular instrument, and where there is a dynamic calibration, then there will be the particular instrument will be having a dynamic characteristics. Now, if the input and output do not vary with respect to time, then directly we can say that the particular instrument is in static in nature. Whereas if the input and output characteristics vary with respect to time, here and or. So either input or output or both varies with respect to time. At that time I can say the particular instrument is a dynamic in nature. So the characteristics of quantities or parameters of measuring instruments that do not vary with respect to time are called as static characteristics. Now let us look at the particular static characteristics, like what are the different type of static characteristics which we have to look in a particular instrument to say whether it is static in nature or dynamic in nature, and how the characteristics are there, whether they are desirable or not with respect to the constraint we have seen in the previous case, that is the desirable characteristics of a particular instrument or not. So now the characteristics which do not vary with respect to time are called static characteristics, and sometimes these quantities or parameters may vary slowly with respect to, but there won't be any huge variation over there. Now in static calibration, all the static performance characteristics are obtained in one form or another by the process of static calibration. Next one, if we look at the particular static calibration, what will be happening is, it refers to situation where the interfering and modifying inputs are kept at some constant value, and the desired input is then varied over some range of constant values, causing the output to vary over some range of constant values. Now here this is a measurement that has to be measured over there. So this is a quantity that has to be measured by using a sensor or instrument under calibration. Now here we give a modifying input or some interfering input, which is given by particular standard instrument. Standard instrument is nothing but, see this measurement, it has some standard units over there. So this particular standard units will be given to the particular instrument or any sensor or any measuring system over there. So now finally there will be a measurement with the particular standard units, and in this process of measuring the particular quantity, if there are two types of inputs induced to the particular sensor, that is there is a particular modifying input as well as the interfering input that is going to the particular sensor or instrument under calibration, at that time there can be some changes in the particular value over. So now here, see, where the interfering and modified inputs are kept at some constant value. These 2 points are kept at particular constant value, and the desired input is then varied over some range of constant values, causing the output to vary over some constant range of values. Now here, with respect to the input, if there are any changes, now first we are keeping this particular modifying input and interfering input as constant. Now the desired quantity which has to be measured, we are changing over a time. We are changing that from time to time. We are going to change the values. And if the changes are reflected in the particular output also, then we can say the particular instrument do not vary with respect to time. That is, it has a static calibration in the particular instrument. So here, the manufacturing and testing laboratories normally furnish the manufacturers and testing laboratories normally furnish the static characteristics of a measuring device stating the levels of interfering or modifying inputs under which the calibration is done. So now whenever there is a manufacturer, like whenever they are manufacturing a particular instrument at any particular time, when they are giving, like when they are selling or when it is brought up into any particular laboratory, at that time definitely this particular measuring that is interfering and modifying inputs, if there are any interfering or modifying inputs, then those things will be will be known to the particular people, those who will be using the particular instrument. Now in my lab, I'm using a particular CRO, which is an instrument, and by using the CRO, I should know how the values will be changed. For example, now if the particular CRO values which it shows an output, if there is an error of or if there is any variation of 0.1 volts while I'm measuring the particular amplitude, this is known to the particular laboratory. That is to the person who's going to use the particular CRO. That is, manufacturers and testing laboratories normally furnish the static characteristics of a measuring device stating the levels of interfering or modifying inputs under the calibration is done. Okay, so these like what are the characteristics of the particular instrument will be already given in the particular manual or any data sheets. When we look at any particular element, we can see all those tolerance values and what are the effects it will be having if it is exceeding some range, and all those normal conditions will be provided to the particular user over there. So now these are some of the static characteristics which we'll be discussing. That is, these are different static characteristics which can check the quality of a particular instrument. That is, how much is the range of the particular instrument, the span. Next one, accuracy, precision, static error, whether it is repeatable or not. Then is reproducibility, whether it is stable or not, resolution, sensitivity, responsiveness, linearity, and threshold. All these values are used to check the quality of a particular instrument. And when it is in static in nature, when the particular instrument is in static in nature, we check this particular characteristics of other. And if it is in dynamic nature, again there are different characteristics which we'll be looking into. So coming to the first static characteristic, that is the range. That is, range can be defined as a measure of the instrument between the lowest and highest reading it can measure. Now, for example, take a thermometer. So in the thermometer, it has different readings here. Like this, it has different readings. And highest, for example, is 100 degrees Celsius and lowest is minus 30 degrees Celsius, for example. Okay, so now this is a temperature reading over there. Now here, if we look at the range of the particular measurement of this instrument, which is nothing but a thermometer, then it will be between the lowest and the highest reading it can measure. That is, the range is, here I can say the range is minus 30 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. This is the range of operating of a particular instrument, that is a thermometer over here. Now, if we see that, like, what is the highest range, highest value it can measure up to is 100 degrees Celsius. And the next static characteristic is span. That is, it is defined as the algebraic difference between the upper and lower range values an instrument can measure. Now, look at the same example over here. Now, here it is the algebraic difference between upper and lower range values of an instrument. Now, here that means how many values this particular thermometer can measure. How many values it can measure is nothing but the span of a particular instrument. Now, this is the algebraic difference between upper and lower range, right? So now let's write the span. Span is equals to x2 minus x1, where x2 is nothing but the highest point of calibration and x1 is nothing but the lowest point of calibration. Now here, what is the highest point of calibration is 100 degrees Celsius. in this thermometer, the highest calibration is 100 degrees Celsius. Whereas the lowest calibration is minus 30 degrees Celsius. So minus 30 degrees Celsius. Now if I look at the overall span of the particular instrument, then it is 130 degrees Celsius is nothing but a centigrade is nothing but the total span of the instrument. Now the range is nothing but the from which value to the which value the particular instrument can measure. That is nothing but the range of the particular instrument. Span is nothing but how many values, like how far, like how many values it can measure is nothing but the span of the particular instrument. That's why range is in the particular thermometer which we have considered, that is minus 30 degrees to 100 degrees Celsius. Whereas if we consider the span, it is about 130 degrees Celsius. And the next most important characteristics of a particular instrument that is to be measured is accuracy. So accuracy is defined as the closeness of indicated value to the true value of the quantity being measured. As we already seen in the introduction topic, that is what is the true value and what is the measured value. True value is a value which will come as an output of a circuit or any other process, and it can also be say as it is the actual value which a particular device is giving. There is a device. True value is the value that is coming out of a particular device or any particular circuit or any particular process over there. And this true value, when it is given to the instrument, that is to be measured, where it is measured. So this instrument gives the measured value. So here the closeness of indicated value is measured value. Indicated value to the true value of the quantity being measured. Indicated value means measured value. How close is the true value to the measured value? Whenever I say that the true value and the measured value is equal, then I can say this particular instrument is very, 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 very accurate. And that particular situation only I can say that it is very accurate. Then here, how I will be measuring it is, so it indicates the maximum likely departure of the indicating value from the true value. So how much deviation it is, how much deviation is there from the true value to the measured value can be known by looking at the accuracy. Accuracy of an instrument is specified as the uncertainty in a measured value. That is, whenever there is any change in a particular measured value compared to the true value, then that is nothing but an uncertainty in the particular measured value. So here accuracy of an instrument is therefore specified as a uncertainty in the measured value. So for example, let us consider this particular example in which if the accuracy of an instrument is stated to be plus or minus 1%, it implies that the maximum departure of the reading from true value may account to a maximum amount of plus or minus 1% of the span of the particular instrument. So now if we look at, if for example, in this particular example, if the accuracy of the instrument is stated to be plus or minus 1%, then it implies the maximum departure of the reading from the true value may account to a maximum amount of plus or minus 1% of the span of the particular instrument. Now see, there is a variation of 1% it is being said in the particular value over here. If we look at if we look at the values, like how the change is being happening in this one, then for example, the instrument, it has to measure a value of 10 volts. Now already it is stated in the particular statement that is there is a variation of plus or minus 1% in this particular instrument. So now whenever we look at this particular variation, then I will say that it is varying by 10 plus or minus 1% over here. So 1% is equals to 10 plus or minus 1 this 1% is nothing but 1% of 10 volts. So it will be 10 plus or minus 0.01 volts. So now whenever we measure with respect to the how much changes will be there in the particular, for instance, the accuracy of an instrument is stated to be plus or minus. So it can be, greater than actual value by plus 1% or it can be less than 1%, it is stated in the particular instrument. Then whenever we measure, if the particular instrument is intended to measure a 10 volts peak to peak value, then the value will be, actually it might be 10 plus or minus 0.01 volts. That is, we can get 10.01 volts as an output or 9.99 volts as an output. So this is the thing, like how the accuracy of the particular instrument can be with respect to the accuracy, how the measured value will be changed in the particular instrument. So the accuracy can be taken as a percentage of span. Span means that is a scale of a range. That scale percentage of a scale range over here, which is nothing but the measured value plus or minus percentage of the instrument span. And the next one is accuracy as percentage of true value, that is percentage of reading, which is nothing but measured value plus or minus percentage of measured value. And next one is point accuracy, that is measured value plus or minus uncertainty in units. So in the next class, we shall discuss about the accuracy topic again in detail, and followed by the other static characteristics in the next class.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.